Hello and welcome to this week's edition of WCS Sports Connection Special Playoff Edition. I'm your co-host, Jeremy Qualls, and with me as always is Tate Mathews. Tate, round 2 of the 5A and 6A state playoffs are over. We started with 5 teams. We're down to 3. There were 4 big games. We're going to talk about that in a second, but there was a special announcement earlier about the Mr. Football finalists. The WCS Sports Conference has 3. Tyrell Dotson, 5A Lineman of the Year, is a finalist for Centennial. Nate Johnson, 5A Back of the Year for Independence, is also a finalist, and Cruz Holt's up for Kicker of the Year from Ravenwood.
I'm so excited, and I think we have a very good chance to win all 3 of them, but I think 2 of them, I think we'll at the very least get 2 out of the 3. I'm so glad Nate Johnson made it as a finalist because obviously with Andrew being out those 5 games, his stats kind of took a hit. You see what he's done the past 3, 4, 5 weeks since he's been back, man. This kid is he's the real deal. So very excited about that because he's had a great year. He deserves it. But we got a chance to win 3. I think we'll definitely win 2. That's pretty dang impressive.
Well, let's talk about it. Never have we had in the conference history had 3 in. We had Corey Fantoni, who was up for Kicker of the Year last year with Franklin, as well as Van Jefferson. But we've got 3 up, 1 in each category. Tyrell Dotson is the first Mr. Football finalist in Centennial history.
Yeah, and I think he's a slam dunk. We talked about it a couple shows ago. They put the linebackers and the linemen together. I think that's a little bit of a disadvantage for some of those linemen because, you know, he gets to do so many things on both sides of the ball. And sometimes the linemen go kind of under the radar, right? So they're not scoring very many touchdowns. They're not throwing touchdowns like he is and taking kickoff returns for touchdowns. But you're right. First one ever at Centennial. You know, you knew it, 4 years ago when they hired Brian Rector, that things were going to change over there on the football side, and they have, and this is just another part of it. It's been fun to watch, and they're still playing, so exciting time.
Well, you got to think, Tyrell, I hope that they take the offensive stats into consideration when they're doing the Lineman of the Year. You know, I cannot think of another person inside the WCS Sports Conference or statewide with the game on the line, ball at first and goal, and you've got to have a score. Yeah. Who else are you going to give it to outside of number 25, Tyrell Dotson?
Yep, I mean, he's the man, and it's been great. They've been able to conserve his carries a little bit during the playoffs. The first 2 rounds, obviously, I think that's probably going to get ramped up here again next week. But you're right. If you got 1 yard to go and you got Tyrell Dotson in the backfield, I think you got to feel pretty good about it. And the same thing on the other side. You know, if you got a 4th and 1. And you've got him over on the other side as a linebacker, you got to feel pretty good about that too. So, and we've talked about it before. What a great kid, man! We've seen him at the Ravenwood game, and you know when they were off that week, and he's cheering on the Ravenwood kids against Overton the first time they played. He's on Twitter, tweeting colleges. If you don't sign Chris Rowland, I don't know his Twitter, but you know, right. He's been pumping up. He's a class kid, man.
Very high character. Matter of fact, all 3 of these kids are 1 conference, 1 go. I love that we're cheering on those other guys. Matter of fact, he put a tweet out just a minute ago talking about the picture of him and Nate Johnson together. I'm glad that I get to be on this finalist with my brother. You know, ever since he was little, they played ball together. Let's talk about Nate Johnson. What an explosive athlete. 4.4 speed, excellent route runner. Over 1,100 yards for the year of receiving rather, and he's got 20 offers on the table. With the newest coming over this past weekend, you've got Northwestern offering a solid offer. You got Vanderbilt. You've got the University of Miami. The U wanted to come in. I know that Tennessee's been talking just a little bit. Notre Dame actually has entered the mix. Michigan has entered the mix. Nothing solid yet, but I'm assuming by the end of this week or even possibly next week if they continue on that some of those offers will stand.
Oh, without a doubt. And it was just you needed one of the dominoes to fall, and then it was going to be a chain reaction, and it did. And you know, obviously the University of Miami, they're having a down year right now. They're not what they are, but they still, when you're talking about wide receivers, look at all the wide receivers that have gone through that place. And to get an offer from there, I mean, that's unbelievable. And you're right, 20 offers by the time this is all over, unless he commits early, he'll have 40 to 50. But he deserves it, and it's something we've known all year long. Again, his stats kind of took a hit a little bit when their offense changed under Swayze, but he's a great route runner, and he's a competitor. And what he's done the past few weeks has been, you know they're trying to get him the ball, and so they're going to try to take him away, and they can't do it. They get it to him anyways. And he's a great special team kid, too. I mean, if you punt it to him, there's a good chance he's going to take it back. So very versatile.
For our viewers that do not know, he was earlier committed to Purdue University, decommitted last week, and within 24 hours, the dominoes already started falling with University of Miami coming on first. You keep waiting for that big next tier above Vanderbilt SEC team to come into the mix. I think that if Tennessee or somebody of that caliber, of that middle caliber, I know you're a Tennessee fan, you like to be of that top tier, not quite right now, but it will only take one of those teams to have a repeat of the Van Jefferson sweepstakes that we had last year when Van decommitted from Georgia, Ole Miss, and all the rest of the guys came in. Now, there are a lot of comparisons. We've talked about it a million times. Van Jefferson, Nate Johnson comparisons. Both are unbelievable route runners, high-quality character kids, 4.4, 4.5 speed. Not sure who's better. I think Nate may have the slight nod in the yards per carry after the catch. Not sure. It's such an interesting dynamic to see those two that we've had. Those two kind of quality caliber receivers come through, not including Emmanuel Hall, who's playing for Missouri. So we've had some receivers come through here in the last 2 years that have been special.
Oh, without a doubt. And on the yards per carry, they run a little bit different offense than Ravenwood did last year also. Van was getting mid-range to long-range balls. A lot of Nate's are a short-range ball that he turns into a big gain, and that's where the yards are. But and here's the other thing. We talked about this with Van. This is what's so great about it. Andrew Bunch is going to be fine. Those other guys on that team are going to be fine. But Andrew Bunch is going to be fine. He's going to get some offers. It's coming. But every time one of these schools is looking at the tape on Nate Johnson, they're seeing number 10 on there as well. So it benefits the whole team, and that's what I think is great about it is it's just giving so much exposure to the kids in our sports conference that we didn't have before. And it's going to keep getting like that every year, and it's just a really good thing.
Specifically, speaking of Andrew Bunch, you're talking about some things that probably doesn't show up to the person that doesn't pay attention to football as much. Let's talk about this past Friday, the game that they played against Hendersonville. There was a particular play. They run a little fade route. The ball that he threw was either going to be out of bounds or out of the hands of the defense. We're going to lead Nate Johnson to the corner route that only he can get it. There was a drag right across the middle once. He threw it low. Defender was high. It's just one of those things that you see in the professional level. You see those guys. Those quarterbacks see those particular passes. They have to make either my guy gets it or nobody gets it. Now, that's not happening by luck. That's not happening by chance. That is happening because we have high intelligence of the football game itself, and he has superior accuracy.
Oh, yeah, and it's something they work on. They work on it year-round. And you're right. It's not by chance. It's by design. That route and that play is called that way. Think about that. I mean, they're throwing back shoulders. They're throwing stuff that college guys have a hard time with. And it's fun to watch. And Nate's not the only guy they do that with. They do it with Seth Huner, and they do it with Pierre and Adam Swayze. And that's a guy that I just think I want to make sure we don't lose focus of that, man. You want to talk about Chris Rowland as a Mr. Do Everything. What about Adam Swayze, man? He comes in, takes over the team, and they win, 5 games without him, and against a very, very good schedule. Smyrna's still playing. I mean, there's some really good teams still playing. And then he goes right back to wide receiver and being the leader of that defensive secondary. That guy, man, is what it's all about, especially in a team sport in high school football. So I want to make sure we stay on him too. He hats off to him. He has been unbelievable this year.
Well, I'm going to take the role of Tyrell Dotson. Somebody better get in here and give quarterback Andrew Bunch an offer. Somebody. Talked to Coach Blade at practice last week. He was talking about how special this team was. It was interesting to watch him prepare for the Hendersonville game. I mean, it was all focus, no jokes. And of course, that's the persona he brings. But the team themselves are extremely focused and mature. It's pretty fun to watch. They broke into their groups. They were doing scout team, et cetera. He broke it down. They left. When I say they left, when they broke it down, the players went and had their own position meetings. It's not something that Coach Blade told them to do. They called their coaches over, boom. They made sure they were solid with everything. Matter of fact, a few of them went through just a few more drills on their own. And he, as a coach, that does wonders to a coach. I mean, that makes you feel like you are worth $1 million because you have laid that foundation down for those kids to be mature, focused, and know that it's important. Everything's important.
That's right, and you're right. The number one thing it goes and it shows the maturity of the team, and that's what happens when you got guys starting. A lot of these guys are 3-year starters, and he said it all along. You look at the defense. He said every year our defense is young. We need to get a year older, or we need to another year of experience, and it's showing up this year. And hey, what they did on Friday night is unbelievable because that's a really, really good Hendersonville offense, and they stoned them.
Well, before you get into that, let's not leave out Cruz Holt. He's up for Kicker of the Year. Cruz Holt closed down practice before going into the game against Overton with a 59-yard field goal. I mean, there have to be a lot of people lined up to say, we want your services, Cruz Holt.
Oh, it's unbelievable. And then, he 59-yarder in practice, so it wasn't like he was in the game frame of mind. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
adrenaline, etc.
Adrenaline, that's right. Crowd and being focused over there thinking about it and to drill that 59-yarder. I mean, we all watch college football on Saturday every week. I didn't see any 59-yarders, So and it's such another weapon, and you watch it on Saturdays too. The other thing he does is you don't ever see any kickoff returns. He's kicking it to the end zone. That is such a weapon because you don't have to worry about that. And so he's another one. He's going to be kicking on TV one Saturday, and so congratulations to him. He was 5 for 5 on extra points the other night and missed a field goal, but it was a 47-yarder, and maybe. Probably shouldn't have attempted that. He had a little something going on during the game. So, Coach Hester, if you talk to him, he wishes he had that one back. But you're right, Cruz, and I think he's a slam dunk on this too. When I say I know we're going to get 2, I think Cruz is going to win it. I think Tyrell is going to win it, and I'm hoping Nate wins it. He deserves it. I don't know if he will, but we got a slam dunk in those 2.
Well, like I said earlier, we had four games this past Friday, 5 teams in there. Before we get to that, you know what starts this week?
Basketball.
I can smell the varnish. I can smell the popcorn right now. It's here, folks. Basketball starts this week. We have 2 great teams on the boys' side, possibly 3, maybe even 4. It's according to who you're talking about. But right now, Greg Glass's bunch of Independents looks to take on this football role and go through the conference with winning behind the Murphy brothers. But we'll talk that later. Summit probably will have something to talk about that with the Carter boys, but that's going to be interesting. That'll be information for next week. So let's get right into it. 3 teams survives and advanced to second round of the TWSOA playoffs this past week. Centennial moves to 11-1, beating Brentwood in this second round, if you will, not only in the playoffs but second round with those guys playing. This is the 1-3 matchup. Centennial won 25-7.
Yep, and remember their one loss is to WCS Sports Conference Independence. 11-1. The only school they've lost to is right here in the county, and it was a good win, 25-7. We talked about it on our show. We talked about it on game day. Brentwood could not turn the ball over if they were going to have a chance. 4 interceptions. They just can't do that against a team like this. So, Brentwood's record doesn't look like, one of the top teams in the state, but as we know, they were going to have a good game plan. They were going to fight. They got better as the year went on, and so this was a tough second-round opponent for Centennial. It's the second time they're going to see them. They actually handled them better than they did the first time. So, I think that game probably played out like a lot of people thought. But the thing you got to be excited about if you're Coach Rector is going out and forcing those 4 turnovers. I tell you the other thing that I think is pretty neat. Coach Rector has the reputation and the history that shows he's a gambler. I don't know if you've been noticing. He went for 2 on the first touchdown. And, it's pretty neat, man. I mean, he's always keeping people on their toes. I guarantee you Henry County's had to work on that this week. That's time they could be doing something else. And the other thing it does is, hey, they come out and score on that first touchdown and go for 2. You going to go for a block on the next extra point? No, right? Because you're worried about that 2 point. He doesn't have to worry about the rush, keeps him off his kicker. I think it's just brilliant, actually.
Well, the score was 18-0 at halftime. Actually, Brentwood scored in the fourth quarter to make it 18-7. And then Centennial scored as well later in the game, later in that quarter to make it 25-7. Mondu Sawyers, 30 rushing attempts for 153 yards. He seems to be carrying the bulk of the load. As long as he continues doing that, Tyrell can spot and pick and choose the times that's going to be best for him to rush. He only had 7 carries, but that was for 36 yards and an average of 5.1 a carry. It's pretty tough to beat.
Right, and if you have to, you can. But and we talked about it earlier in the year. Mondu Sawyers, that was a guy to watch out for. And I tell you, man, that's one of the things Coach Rector challenged him on the beginning of the year was toughness. Not that he's not tough, but, he wanted him to become a leader in the toughness department on that team. Well, not only has he gotten better all year, but I don't care what level of football it is. You carry the ball 30 times, you're tough. And so it's been fun to watch him emerge. He's a top-notch running back in this state.
Absolutely. Ravenwood, G2 bar, 11-1, beats Overton. This is in the 1-5 seeded game. They beat them 35-0. You called that. You said it wouldn't even be close. It wasn't, obviously. 21-0. Here's the funny thing about Will Hester and his club. They keep winning, and nobody's talking about it.
I know.
It's like the opposite of last year. We couldn't get enough of Ravenwood. It's all we wanted to talk about. Hollywood Show with Van Jefferson, Cole Brown, Austin Percy, and now you're just like, even though they have three great players in Rapay and Connor Jeffries and Roland, they just kind of go under the radar. It's not the glitz and glamour. It's the grounded out, pounded out, beaten the style that they're beating folks by.
That's right. And you want to talk about playoff football, we hear it all the time. They've got an unbelievable physical defense that seems to be getting better. I mean, they got after Overton. That's an explosive team. Most people, when they beat Overton, it's because they outscored them. They didn't score a point, all right? That's big. That's impressive. Kicking game, well, we just talked about it. They got one of the best place kickers in the state. They got a great punter in Lindy. So running game, defense, kicking game, and then they got the three-headed monster in the running game with Connor Jeffries. He's obviously healthy again, and what a home run threat he is. And then Andrew Rapay, physical running back, kind of a Tim Tebow type style that he has. And then obviously Chris Rowland, man, anytime he gets the ball, he's got a chance to take it to the house. So they got a recipe for some really good playoff football right now.
Here's the interesting fact right here. Ravenwood only attempted 13 passes for the game. They were 6 of 13 from the for passes, which would have been the complete opposite of last year. But you look down at the rushing. Connor Jeffries finishes 18 carries for 104 yards. Rapay from the quarterback position, 15 attempts for 75 yards. Chris Rowland, 7 attempts, 66 yards. That averages 9.4 every time he touches the ball.
Yep. Anytime he gets it, he's got a chance to be a home run. I noticed they didn't kick the ball to him, or unless they kicked it in the end zone, their one kickoff. I don't think they kicked it in the end zone. They kicked it away from him. He had one punt return, so they learned from their mistake for -1 yards. They learned from their mistake in the last game. Remember, they kicked it to him right before the half, and he took it down to the 1. But yep, he's an explosive player. I love what they're doing, and you can't say enough about their defense. John Thompson back again and leading it, but this is a physical, hard-hitting defense. Andrew Luchins had been out in the first part of the year. He's back now. Coach Hester said, hey, that's going to make us even better. When we get healthy, get ready, our defense can be better than it was last year, and I think it is.
Not to get ahead of ourselves, but do you see anybody in the 6A bracket that can pose a problem all the way into the state championship game?
On the West?
To Ravenwood, yes.
No. Well, Whitehaven's good. I think they'll take care of White Station, and then they'll have to play Whitehaven. Whitehaven's got a very explosive kid, #1 prospect in the state next year. But no, I think they got a chance. I think it's going to be them and Maryville or Oakland in the state championship game. And man, think about where this program was when Coach Hester got there. And to think they've got a chance to go to back-to-back 6A state championship game, that's amazing.
All right, Franklin moves to 7-4 after the loss to Wilson Central. Wilson Central was one of those teams where a lot of people said, can't believe that everybody in the Super 32 gets in. They were below 500. They upset Cordova in week 1. Turn around, upset Franklin. This was the 2-6 seeded game. Franklin was down 21-0, pretty much the predominant whole part of the game. They get into late in the fourth quarter. They score, get a fumble recovery, score again, and get themselves back. Matter of fact, and hold them and get the ball back and score 21-20 with 9 seconds to go and go for 2 failed attempts. Doctor defense, roll the dice. Probably in that situation, it's not a bad idea. But I'm just going to go ahead and tell everybody right now in the WCS Sports Conference, going back to the state championship game, our 2-point conversion right now percentage is not very good. And it's about to kill me. But I think of it from a basketball perspective. I understand that they're going for 2. And I'm not doubting what he did. I think that was the right call because everything was going their way. Momentum, let's get out of here. Let's steal one from Wilson Central. And unfortunately, the quarterback kind of overthrew the pass just a little bit. But it has not been favorable for us this year. So whoever gets in the state championship game, I'm going to go to them personally and say, look, here's our percentage this year, all the way back to last year's game.
Yeah. Well, that's tough, man. I think a big part of it was that they were spent. They talk about that's a heck of a comeback. Coming back from 2 touchdowns down in the fourth quarter, but they were down 21, came all the way back. It was the right call. It got tipped, kind of like the 2-point conversion with Ravenwood against Maryville last year.
Yep.
It was the right call.
I'm not questioning the call.
No, I know.
I'm just looking. I'm a stats guy, right? So I'm OCD on that. I'm looking at them. We always used to break down the opponents in basketball and thinking the tendencies, and I'm just thinking, man, our percentage is not very good. But you make 2 of those, 3 of those, or 50% of the ones that we've done this year. All of a sudden it's fantastic, great call.
Right.
I'm not questioning the call. I just wish we could get some of these completed. I'm not sure what's against us.
Well, we got a lot of good things going too. So I guess
that's a
you
good
win
point.
some, you lose some. But we've talked about it a lot. I think there's so many great coaching jobs, but I think what Coach Webb and his staff did this year is unbelievable, man. This for them to be in the second round in a 2 seed. I think they did a great job. And hats off to Wilson Central. They got beat 35-3 last time they played, came back and beat them. And you're right. Say what you want to about should they have been in the playoffs or not. They're playing in the quarterfinals. If they win this week, I don't think they will. But if they do, they're going to be practicing on Thanksgiving.
And it's crazy. And you
something.
think that they were 3 games below 500. They got themselves to 500. And that is why you play the game. Because I've always said it's tough. Specifically in basketball, you have to play sometimes 4 times. It is impossible to beat the same opponent more than 1 time in the season. It's just very, very tough. Not saying that it's impossible. Let me rephrase that. It is very, very difficult to do that.
Especially if you're evenly matched.
Specifically in football. But congratulations, I'm telling you, Coach Donnie Webb, Coach of the Year in our eyes, hands down from what he's at. They've been beat up. They've been limping all year long. They've still gotten the job done. What a great season, and they represented WCS Sports Conference greatly.
Yes, they did.
Independence moves to undefeated still to 12-0 over Hendersonville. I'm telling you right now, Hendersonville came in 10-1, Tate. Everybody was talking about this is going to be a great game, epic matchup. Hendersonville had put out Independence the last 2 years in the playoffs. They had steamrolled everybody. They had the 1 hiccup against Hillsboro, but Cane Ridge. Cane Ridge beat them. But it was not even a ball game. I mean, they pretty much held Hendersonville scoreless. They scored the second half to get their lone 7 points. They end up winning 37-7.
Oh, yeah. And talk about defense. They've played 11 games, the Commandos. This was the only game all year that they did not score a rushing touchdown. And we talked about it before the game. They had 3 guys that were averaging over 7 yards a carry. And they don't score 1 rushing touchdown against this Independence defense. So we've been talking about it for a while. Coach Blade's been talking for a while. That defense kind of has a chip on their shoulder that, Independence can score points, but wait till they get to a good running attack. Wait till they get deeper in the playoffs. And they went out and they got after them. No rushing touchdowns, only giving up 7 points. That was a heck of a performance. And, you put that with that explosive offense, Independence, I just don't see a hiccup right now.
Whew, I hope you're right on that. We got a group right now we're fixing to talk about that thinks they're going to be the hiccup. Well, let's start with Centennial. Centennial host Henry County, round 2 matchup from week 10, where Centennial won 28-20. That score is not really a good indicator of how that game went. Centennial pretty much dominated that game until the end. Henry County coming in at 10-2. Their road to get here was they beat Mumford and Clarksville Northeast. It has not been a close game for them. This makes for an intriguing matchup.
Yeah, it does. Their first, no offense to the first 2 opponents they played, but not very good. Northeast, the only reason they even got in the playoffs was Clarksville had to forfeit all those games. But you're right. They haven't had a very tough road to get there, but it's the second time they played. Like you talked about, it's a rematch. Centennial got up, 28-0 on them the last time. They scored 3 times in the fourth quarter. So there will be no surprises. This time around, they've got a good feel of each other. So always tough to play each other second time. I'm just glad it's at Centennial and not in Paris.
That's absolutely correct. So a lot of people right here be interested to see the Twitter polls that come out on this game. I'd say the percentages will be pretty close. I don't think it'll be a clear-cut favorite in this game. Centennial might have the slight edge, but I think this game could make for an interesting night of football. Ravenwood hosting White Station. White Station coming in their road to get here. They beat Lebanon and then beat McGavick 36-35 in a very close matchup last week. this could pose problems to the athleticism that White Station is going to bring.
Yeah, you always know that when you're getting a team out of the West. But there's White Station and there's White Haven. White Haven's better than White Station, and they're still in it. But you're right, they're going to be athletic. But you look at if scores mean anything to you, giving up 37 points to McGavock, I think Coach Hester's got to feel good about his chances to score some points. But this is a game, if they show up, do what they're supposed to do, they'll be okay and advance one more round. Get out there. We talked about it last year. Sometimes those Memphis teams, it starts getting cold and they don't like physical. Well, they're getting ready to see physical. So I think Coach Hester will have them ready to go.
Are you saying that they were looking forward to this week because of basketball purposes?
They like to be indoor this time of year.
All right. I'll give you that.
Agreed.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, White Station does have a kid that has committed to Oregon.
I think that's Whitehaven, but maybe it's White Station.
Whitehaven?
It might be. It's
White
one
Station.
Of them.
Okay,
you're right.
We'll give that information later. Independence right now hosting Hillsboro as we talked. This could be interesting as well. Scott Blade, former coach of Hillsboro. Hillsboro has athletes. They beat Beach 42-7. Man, this could be interesting, or is it going to get out of hand?
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I think this is a good game. Both of our 5A guys have really strong games this week. So Hillsboro's very athletic. And remember, Craig Clayton used to be the head coach at Franklin, Carol Birdsong's older brother. He's the head coach of Hillsboro. So, no, I think they will have a hard time stopping Independence's passing game. But these guys are athletic enough that if they show up, it's going to be a tough contest for Independence.
Well, we've got 2 minutes. Let's do a quick rundown. 5A state bracket. Who you got? Sevier County, Morristown West.
Morristown West.
You going Morristown? I'm going to go Sevier County on that. Ray County, Ottawa.
I'm going with Mark Pemberton and Ray County.
You know what? I have to say that there's a connection there, so I'm going to go Ray County as well. Independence, Hillsboro.
I'm riding Independence.
All the way, Indy Nation.
And by the way, shout out to the gray jerseys, man. They looked good again last week.
Woo, that's bringing them good luck. Independence wins. Centennial, Henry County.
Centennial.
Absolutely. So we're going to look at a Centennial Independence State semifinal game. Let's look at the 6A side of things. Maryville versus Blackman. Now, on paper, that sounds awful intriguing.
Yeah, I think so too, but I think Maryville gets this one.
I think Maryville gets them and gets them bad. Oakland and Smyrna.
Oakland, bad.
Bad as well. I agree with that. Ravenwood, White Station.
Ravenwood, bad.
Ravenwood is bad, and this is too easy. We can't differ in any of these. Wilson Central and Whitehaven. Not even a game. Get on the bus. Let's go back to the house.
Don't turn the bus off.
Now, let me just tell you, though, that they're going to have a chip on their shoulder because they don't think that they're not getting any credit for being there. They're going to go down there, and they're going to play the first 5 minutes really good. And then reality sets in. You got to survive that first 5 minutes, and then reality happens.
Running clock. There's a running clock in that game.
So you think it's going to be a short night at Whitehaven, at Crump Stadium?
Bad.
Okay. All right. So we've got our pick'ems. Right now we're close. Unfortunately, I can't remember what the count is. Maybe I can make up a few grounds. We're running out of time, running out of real estate. So, but thank you for joining us for this playoff edition of WCS Sports Connection. We'll see you next time.
Cows by Gail Bunton Haddock. Resting triangled into the ground with upjetting ridges and cavernous hollows down swooping, hulking, living landscapes, breathing, cud chewing, nonchalantly flicking their tails, quiet and velvet-eyed, peaceful, peaceful.